All right, the Black Illuminati throws Nathan Wade a softball interview. And is Kristi Noem fooling all of us? I mean, is she just fooling all of us right now? This is the Propaganda Report. I am Brad Binkley. Let me click that go live button on Rockfin. All right. Sorry about the delay. Not that anybody was up. It's the middle of the night. Lots of technical difficulties going on over here. But I had to do a show. But before I even dive into that, because I'm very excited to talk about this stuff, I want to tell you guys about tomorrow night, Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Joshua Smith, Libertarian candidate for president and host of Break the Cycle, will be joining us on the show to talk about his campaign and the upcoming Libertarian National Convention and whatever else we might get into. We'll talk about some news too. We'll have some fun. It'll be a good time, and it'll definitely be informative. He's a smart guy. So check it out, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, Wednesday, May 8th. Okay, so ABC News dropped its 9-minute full interview of Nathan Wade on YouTube late last night, a few hours ago. They had been giving us bits and pieces of it up until then. A minute here, 2 minutes there, just teasing us, just giving us a little foreplay, like Nathan and Fanny used to like to do with each other, or Nathan and Sonia Allen, or Nathan and anyone over the age of 75 who weighs at least 350 pounds like to do with each other. Just a little foreplay before giving us the full 9 minutes. Full 9-minute interview. Man, I hope Nathan never takes Fannie Willis to the Georgia Aquarium. That'd be the end of them. He'd be in the water trying to hump the beluga whale before Fanny could get the gray goose out of her purse. And Fanny does not like to watch until she's had 3 or 4 shots of that gray goose. Nathan, if you're listening, don't take your sweetheart to see the beluga whale. It won't end well. And you don't have a bed big enough to have a throuple with Fanny and a beluga whale. Although you might have done it with Fanny and Sonia Allen. I don't know. That's neither here nor there. Anyway, back to the show. I was compelled to do this show. I thought about waiting, actually, until like 8 or 9. But I couldn't. It was like Christmas. I wouldn't be able to sleep. I was too giddy. I had to get the show going because I was excited to see that the pattern in this Fannie Willis story that I noticed months ago and have been pointing out relentlessly over and over again, every time I see it, every time it happens and remains consistent, it has remained consistent again. It's just so rewarding, not necessarily just to realize you've recognized a pattern that's going on, but to realize how much time you save in research because you know the first questions to ask, and you can just eliminate all that mess and you can get right to the point. And I mean, I almost couldn't believe that it was dead on point again here. And that pattern that I've noticed, and it's true again, is that every time a new person enters this story on the side of Nathan Wade and Fannie Willis and the Fulton County District Attorney, that person is yet again a member of the Black Illuminati. Another one is like clockwork every single time. Every time. Nathan Wade is, Fannie Willis, Fannie's ex-husband Fred, Terrence Bradley, Fannie's father is, Sonia Allen, who was banging and engaging in corrupt activity in Cobb County with Nathan Wade before Fannie Willis gave them a promotion up to Fulton. Kamala Harris is, Stacey Abrams, even Shaquille O'Neal, who was strangely pictured with Fannie Willis in multiple pictures online and described in those pictures as being Fannie's ex-husband Fred. Even he is in the Black Illuminati. Now, maybe they don't identify themselves as that, but the Black Illuminati, which, did I say Kamala Harris is in? I'm pretty sure that I did. That's how you get it all the way to the top there. But by Black Illuminati, those of you who've listened to the show know what I'm talking about. That's not my description of this group. That's the description that many of them have referred to themselves and that many of those who have defected from these various groups, the Divine Nine, that make up the Black Illuminati, have called them as they make their videos saying they had to make a choice, these Divine Nine fraternities and sororities, or God. And then they would go on to describe activities that they felt were demonic. That's not me. That's former members. I ask questions about that stuff. In fact, I'm going to try to get some of those people on to talk to them about it, because I want to see what makes them feel that way. I'm skeptical about that conclusion, but then you look at some of the stuff and you see what's going on with it. You see how the entire Fulton County District Attorney's Office, like almost everybody since Fani Willis took over in 2021 that she hired, is in one of these groups, the Divine Nine, as many of you know, the 9 original HBCU fraternities and sororities that started at those HBCUs and they spread around the country to other colleges. Those are known as the Divine Nine, the Black Freemasons, they call themselves, and the Black Illuminati, that some of them call themselves and others call them. Not my name. It's theirs. And every single time one of these stories happens, I have learned, I have to stop myself. I almost went to go watch this video, but I said, no, wait, don't go watch the video. Who's doing the interview? And the person doing the interview is Lindsay Davis of ABC News. And she is light-skinned black. So if they're black, this is what you do before you do anything else. And she's light-skinned black. And so you type their name into Google. So Lindsay Davis, Linsey Davis, and you put quotes by it. It's one of the search modifiers. And then next to that, you put sorority if it's a girl and fraternity if it's a guy. That's all you got to do. Hit enter. And what you will find, what I have found literally every single time that I've done this, all of those people that I just mentioned, is that they are in one of the Divine Nine fraternities or sororities, the Black Illuminati, every freaking time. They send in a handler, they send in a person to mop it up. I don't know what the goal is or the agenda is, but I certainly know that they're in control of this operation, or whoever's controlling them is. There's no doubt about that. This is not a coincidence at this point. They sent this woman, who else? Are they just going to let Nathan Wade go speak publicly for the first time since he got removed from the biggest criminal trial in American history? At least that's what they call it. They're going to let any person talk. I'm going to call Nathan Wade and say, Nathan, you want to come on the show? Want to come talk about? You think they're going to let him anywhere near? No. They're going to bring him back into society. His first comments are going to be handled by someone who makes sure he doesn't say something stupid and makes sure that he says the things that he is supposed to say that are the only reason that they are allowing him to talk in public. They're not letting him do an interview with ABC News because they care about him and they're trying to help him. They're letting him do it because he has a role to play in the narrative, and they needed someone who's good at coaching a narrative and direct handling somebody while making it appear to be an authentic interview to people who don't know anything about the story. And that's exactly what happened with this lady. So this is the start of, and I'm going to play you a clip. The woman interviewing him, to be perfectly clear, is a sorority member with Kamala Harris. You know what? I'll go ahead and play that clip for you. Which, this is crazy to me. I never saw this before tonight. Is this woman who interviews Nathan Wade, his first public appearance, George Stephanopoulos on the inauguration, Biden's inauguration in 2021, he points out, he says, you're a sorority sister of Kamala Harris. And then he asked her to explain the symbolic activity that was going on during the inauguration parade by all of these HBCU sorority women. And what's the sorority? The sorority is, let me get the name of the sorority first, because she says it in here. Alpha something. Alpha, not Alpha Kappa. It might be Alpha Kappa. Hold on a second. Okay, so yeah. The woman who interviews Wade, she is Alpha Kappa Alpha. Just like Kamala Harris is, just like Fani Willis is, just like Stacey Abrams is, just like almost every single black female in the Fulton County District Attorney's Office who's been hired there since 2021. Almost all of them. There are other HBCU Divine Nine. It's not just HBCU. That's where it started. It spread elsewhere. But there are other of those black Illuminati sororities represented, but this is the most represented one. This is like the most powerful one, I believe. And here is George Stephanopoulos asking her to explain what the hell all these black Illuminati women are doing with their ritual shit on the inauguration day in honor of Kamala Harris. You see that up on the screen? So this is a Facebook clip. I hope it works. It better work. All right, here we go. Turn this up a bit. So listen closely at the beginning. That's when Stephanopoulos says, or whatever his friggin' name is. That's when he identifies her as being a member of Kamala Harris's sorority. Dang it. Oh, why does Facebook video always, it mutes itself. All right, here we go. What the freak, dude?
I don't understand it all. So
all right, here it is.
Lindsay Davis, Robin Roberts is right. It's a sorority thing. I don't understand it all. So you have to.
He said, Lindsay Davis, Robin Roberts is right. It's a sorority thing. I don't understand it at all. And now he's going to ask her. He's going to say, you're with Kamala.
Understand it all. So you have to explain it to everybody. Sure. You're a sorority sister of Kamala Harris.
Right. Well,
so did you hear it kind of faded out there? You're a sorority sister of Kamala Harris. It's very faint, so I just want to make sure everybody hears it.
Sorority thing. I don't understand it all. So you have to explain it to everybody. Sure. You're a sorority sister of Kamala Harris.
Right. Well,
so I'm going to pause it just to describe what's on the screen for people listening. This is the Capitol, or this is Inauguration Day, Joseph R. Biden, and they have, you see all the American flags, and apparently they're zooming in on some sort of ritual, symbolic ritual that's going on right now. Let me make that bigger. Maybe that'll, no. I don't have a Facebook page anymore, Gus. There you go. That's a little bit bigger. So let's see.
pearls are a symbol.
So you have to explain it to everybody. Sure. You're a sorority sister of Kamala Harris.
Right. Well, you know, pearls are a symbol of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, which she pledged while she was at Howard University. And the strand of pearls is symbolic of the unity and the sisterhood. Okay. But on this day, there's actually a Facebook page of.
That's interesting. A strand of pearls, she said, is united of the sisterhood. You know, if I recall correctly, don't we often see some of these congresswomen wearing strands of pearls during like the State of the Union address? Am I misremembering that? I'll have to go back and look at that. But that's something to notice now with all these politicians. Are these strands of pearls? I'm going to start this. So here's a closer up image. Is that woman's face? Oh, so this is back when masking was going on. That's why everybody's face is covered.
Right, it's a sorority thing. I don't understand it all. So you have to explain it to everybody. Sure. You're a sorority sister of Kamala Harris.
Right. Well, you know, pearls are a symbol of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, which she pledged while she was at Howard University. And the strand of pearls is symbolic of the unity and the sisterhood. Okay. Sisterhood. But on this day, there's actually a Facebook page of women who say wear pearls on January 20th, 2021, and hundreds of thousands of women are apparently wearing pearls in support of her.
Well, so hundreds of thousands of women wearing pearls. Are all of them members of this Divine Nine sorority that Kamala Harris is? Probably not. But if you believe in that type of power of a symbol, and obviously the members of this sorority and the Divine Nine do, the Black Illuminati, then getting others, thousands, hundreds of thousands of others to engage in the same symbolic activity at one time, even if they don't realize they're doing it, can lend power to whatever it is they're putting that worship energy to, which I guess is towards Kamala Harris in this moment. I don't know, but hundreds of thousands of people, all with the string of pearls, because they organized it around some Facebook group, which is a symbolic connection about the sisterhood and the togetherness of this most powerful Divine Nine Black Illuminati sorority, the Alpha Kappa Alpha, that every single person, every single female involved in the Fani Willis case just happens to be a member of. I mean, it's freaking crazy. And this woman, who you see on screen here, like I said, wouldn't you know it, happened to be the one who got to interview Nathan Wade, fellow Divine Nine except he's in the fraternity, Black Illuminati member. It's just they're handling each other. This is not real. This is all a stage play. They would never let him be interviewed by anyone that is not inside of this control group. I mean, it's like Scientology. In the way it's controlled. But they're trying to give the illusion that it's not, and they're so widespread, and people are so unaware of all of this. I wasn't aware of this until I started looking into Fani Willis a lot deeper, and I don't mean the way that Nathan Wade did. That's disgusting. I mean metaphorically. The things those two did. Ugh. Okay, let's get that off screen. Isn't that interesting? That was a 2021 clip. I couldn't find that clip anywhere else. I tried to find it. C-SPAN. Couldn't find it. I wanted to hear the rest of it. I wanted to see the ritual sacrifice or whatever the hell they did on that day. All I could find was that like minute and a half Facebook clip. And there she is. You see, oh wait, you don't see her on the screen. Hold on. So let's listen to the actual interview now. Knowing that she is there to make sure he says only very specific things and nothing else. I mean, this is what like a CIA handler is, what we're witnessing right here. It's very fascinating when you realize what it is. So like when a few years ago, not a few years ago, but 10 years ago, or when I was much younger in college or a kid, I would maybe see an interview like this on television and I would just think, oh, there's a journalism lady interviewing this man who was involved in this news thing I saw. I would think that there was no connection between the two of them, that they just happened to be the first one who got the big interview. I mean, I studied journalism in college. And the way they teach it, that's what they make you think. You gotta be out there. You gotta go out there and get the interview. There wasn't anybody getting this interview. There was none of that competition there. This was predetermined. This is a publicity thing. Everything is a publicity thing that is done under the guise of being news. Nothing is like any news anymore. Some things might be, but it's so saturated with nothing but public relations stunts that when real news happens that might be spontaneous, it's hard to decipher it because everything else is so fake. It's easy to just think even spontaneous real things are fake. This interview to me is like crazy. Let's see. We're going to watch the whole thing, have some fun with it. Hopefully this volume is going to work. Let me make sure this is up. This guy's a piece of trash. I'm sorry. I don't, I do try to give people the benefit of doubt, even though I make a lot of jokes. I grew up making jokes. Like this is what I've done for years. I'm okay roasting and being roasted. It's fine. It's good natured. And even some of these people, I like to think the people involved in these propaganda and scandals that maybe they're not so bad. This Nathan Wade guy is a piece of trash. Everything you learn about him is a piece of trash, and nobody watching this interview, almost nobody, has any clue about it. They have no idea about the case. They have no idea about him, and so they're going to see the serious expression on this woman's face and what appear to be probing, tough questions, which are not at all, and they're going to think, oh, wow, she really went after him, and they're going to have no idea that what she was doing was anti-journalism. It was propaganda, and that she asked him none of the actual relevant things, and that she followed up with none of the obvious follow-up questions that anybody who's done an ounce of research would have followed up with. Here we go.
ABC News exclusive with former Fulton County Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade, who is breaking his silence after being forced to step down from a historic prosecution of former President Trump because of his romantic relationship with DA Fani Willis. In our wide-ranging interview, Wade talks about what he does and does not regret and where the case goes from here. Okay, we'll set up there. That's Kamala Harris's and Fani Willis's sorority sister. Stacey Abrams also. Everybody else so sorority sister to everybody involved in this case. Just to be super freaking clear about that. If anybody just tuned in. So there's a little fade in there. And it's funny to me because I'll let this go. I'll let you hear it and then I'll point these things out. What do you want people to know?
I want people to know the real me.
Okay. He wants people to know the real him. That's what he wants people to know. I'll tell you about the real Nathan Wade because I've actually done a little bit of research on the real Nathan Wade. The real Nathan Wade, before he ended up in Fulton County, sticking it to Fani Willis, to get the top prosecutor job. He was in Cobb County working. Let me pull up my notes here specifically. Who the real me is. Okay, so he was working. So Sonia Allen, who is another member of that Alpha Kappa Alpha, friends with Stacey Abrams, friends with all these same people, she was a lawyer in the Cobb County Sheriff's Office. And she hired Nathan Wade, like right before. This is like months to a year before Fani Willis hired Nathan Wade. She hired him to be an investigator to investigate the deaths of inmates in the Cobb County Jail. So that was his job. He was getting paid very, very well, $500 an hour, it turns out, for thousands of hours, if I recall correctly. Made tons and tons of money. However, it turns out that Nathan was not actually investigating the deaths of those inmates. Nathan was only pretending to, and the only reason he was called in there was because the families of the inmates had done an open records request to try and get video footage inside the prison that showed exactly what happened to their family members. And the Cobb County Sheriff's Office wanted to prevent them from getting that footage because it did not look good on them. So, what's a way to prevent someone from getting something like that through an Open Records Request Act? Well, you open up an investigation, and that makes it immune from the Open Records Request because there's an ongoing investigation going on. And Sonia Allen, she said, bring in Nathan Wade. We'll call him an investigator. We'll pay him boatloads of taxpayer dollars, and he won't have to do anything except bang me. And that's what he did. He got paid handsomely off of the taxpayers of Cobb County to stick it in Sonia Allen, who's about twice as big as Fani, and like in her 60s. He is a taxpayer-funded prostitute who they hide his sexual activity or his sex trade underneath a prestigious title, Orwellian in this case. This came out, I'm not speculating, this came out from Nathan Wade himself about how they were just trying to make sure that they could not get those videos, that they were actually covering it up because the families of those inmates sued the sheriff's office. They sued Cobb County, and Nathan Wade admitted during deposition, you can read it, that he wasn't doing anything. He was getting paid to do nothing. He just had this prestigious title, and he's just plowing home, to this woman the size of Stone Mountain who's twice as old. And obviously the sheriff lost the election. And so what happened? Well, Sonia Allen and Nathan Wade were out of a job because their corruption was exposed. So what happened next? Well, they got a promotion. Fani Willis said, you know what? I like that corruption you did down there. It's a really good job, that scheme to cover that up. Nice work. Nathan, you come on up here. You're going to bang me now. We can do a throuple maybe. And Sonia Allen, you're going to come up here to Fulton County, and you're going to be the head of the anti-corruption unit in Fulton County. Even though I've said this a number of times on the show, and many of you have probably heard me say it, when I stop right now and just think about that, think about how Orwellian that is. I mean, that's some bullshit corruption that was exposed and resulted in someone losing an election and people being out of work and the corrupt actors that caused it getting a freaking promotion to be the head of anti-corruption, and then I like the way you bang her, come bang me. I mean, it's like, you can't, it's so detached from reality, these stories. Like, if I were to present or start an improv scene, and improv is wacky and weird usually. If I were to start something like that during an improv scene, the director would be like, no, cut. Let's do this a little more grounded. Nobody's going to believe that shit. Nobody's that corrupt. Of course they are. Of course they are if they can get away with it and they are in positions of power. Of course they are. And all these people are defending them. And you have this woman here with a serious look on her face. Well, what do you want people to know about you? I want them to know the real me. That's the real him. You know what else the real Nathan Wade is? The real Nathan Wade is someone who convinced his ex-wife to enter into a divorce agreement right after all of this story happened, broke out, as like a favor, like, please, let's just close this so I don't have to deal with this. They enter into the agreement, and he violates the divorce agreement that his wife entered into that helped him because of all the attention he was getting. And he violated it when he refused to pay medical bills that he agreed to under the divorce agreement to pay for his wife, who did not get to work for many, many years because she was raising their kids. So she needed help. He broke it when he decided, despite agreeing to, as part of the divorce agreement, pay for his children's college and their dorms. He abruptly calls him and says, I'm not paying for this anymore. Ask your mother. That is who Nathan Wade is. Nathan Wade is a piece of trash. And you will see in his answers here, when he prioritizes, I'm not even going to ruin it. You will see it clearly how much of a piece of trash this person is. And that's exactly the type of people these Illuminati folks and these handlers want, because they're so dumb and controllable. I mean, this guy would do anything. This guy would fuck the light socket if he thought it could give him a job. I mean, look at that suit he's wearing. What an asshole.
So there are those who say you weren't qualified for this.
I would take that back again. So now what she does, and this was clearly set up the way they did this, obviously, it was scripted. I want people to know the real me. And so here she is to say, okay, well, let's go through the public narrative about you that you don't like, and we're going to correct the record. And they get to correct in here.
What do you want people to know?
I want people to know the real me.
So there are those who say you weren't qualified for this case. How do you respond?
I respond by saying, let's give it some color. I defended murders, rapes, armed robbers, molesters, mostly criminal cases that dealt with high stakes.
He wants people to know the real him. The real him defended murderers, rapists, pedophiles, armed robbers. That's the real him. This is that's the real him. He's obviously trying to debunk, to use a stupid word, the narrative that he's not qualified, which I will.
Mostly criminal cases that dealt with high stakes.
Oh, good job.
Including life. The picture that was being painted, that there was no experience, is just not an accurate one.
You and Fonnie.
All right, so the reason I stopped there is because a real journalist there, and you'll notice a bunch of the cuts here. Sometimes they kind of cut like before he even finishes a sentence, but a real journalist would point out that everything he just said there is bullshit. No, not that he defends rapists and murderers, and by the way, he did not say alleged rapists and murderers, alleged pedophiles, alleged armed robbers. He said he defends rapists and murderers. So that is must be his passion, is defending guilty people and trying to find loopholes that can get them back out onto the street. Because you know the guy's shady as hell. He's sleazy, he's shady. The skeletons in this guy's closet are probably some of the worst you'll come across. And so he'll do whatever the hell he can to get these sleazy mother effers back out onto the street. That's what he prides himself in, apparently. And he thinks because he does that means he's actually qualified to be the lead prosecutor in a criminal case, a felony case, that is called the most historic in American history, dealing with an American president. So here's the thing about the legal field. Just because you might defend some of the worst people on the planet, that doesn't mean you can instantly flip on the other side and transfer all of those skills into being a prosecutor on the biggest case in American history, according to the news. In fact, it doesn't lend itself to that at all. I mean, yeah, they're both lawyers, the prosecutor and the defense attorney, but they're using different muscles. So the prosecutor has a higher standard, a burden of proof. Innocent until proven guilty. So they have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. They have to build the case. They have to find the precedent, the laws that can relate, the precedent cases, and they have to formulate a legal theory that fits into that can be supported with the evidence that is able to be submitted to court. Because not everything is allowed. There's some things they can be thrown out for whatever reason. They have to do all of these things. Not to say that the defense attorneys don't. The defense attorney also has a difficult job. But the defense attorney is not building this case. The defense attorney is not working for the state. The defense attorney is not going to be as familiar with these types of charges that are being thrown at people. They're not going to have the case law ready and at the front of their mind. It's just such a different muscle. It's like, and this is a bit of an exaggeration, but it'd be like if you switched your field goal kicker with your 350-pound lineman on your football team and just expected them to both do perfectly fine. No, you're using different skills. And nobody who's serious actually would say, yeah, that was a good move to put him there. I have an idea of why she put him there, but to really hit that point home, because this is really all you need to know about whether or not he was qualified. This is a RICO case. Very complex, often involves a bunch of sub-issues and other issues, and is this allowed to be evidence? Is it not? It's something that I read a congressional paper the other day that talked about local prosecutors being terrified of actually using RICO charges because of the fear that they would misapply it and they would end up letting the person go free and everybody would blame them. And these are experienced prosecutors who do it on a regular basis, who have prosecuted felonies. Nathan Wade, who's defended a bunch of really stand-up guys who rape and murder people that he helps out, he has never prosecuted a felony case. He's barely prosecuted a misdemeanor case. You don't put someone who's only ever played Nintendo Tecmo Bowl as the offensive coordinator of an NFL team. It's not going to turn out well. It's especially not a wise choice, and really no one would do it, when you have someone on your team like Fani Willis did, and who not only had experience as a federal prosecutor, but had experience doing RICO cases, which many prosecutors are afraid of. This is the craziest choice of people to put there. He's so unqualified. He is just, it's not even, like, you could put a turtle as the lead prosecutor, and it would be just as qualified as Nathan Wade, even if the turtle hadn't freed a bunch of rapists and murderers and pedophiles. No pedophiles are out looking for kids again because of the turtle, and yet the turtle is still as unqualified, or Nathan Wade still as unqualified as the turtle. Now, he'd probably try and have sex with a turtle if it were big enough, and like a 300-year-old turtle. He doesn't, he stays away from the ones that are only like 150. He doesn't like that shit, it's too new. But you get the point. You do not throw some dude who's never done a federal prosecution, a felony prosecution, not federal, felony. You don't say, hey, how about your first case? We put you on the most historic trial in the history of the United States, and it's a complicated RICO case, you dummy. And he's dumb as shit. Like, he's stupid. So what Fani did was, Fani put him as the lead guy just like the other chick did, just like Sonia Allen did. Gave him the big title, paid him a bunch of money to do nothing because he was doing nothing. Meanwhile, the people who were getting paid in the background, who actually had the experience, were doing all the work that he would get the credit for because he was the one who was plowing away and banging Fani Willis. He is literally, and I'm serious, he is a prostitute. This guy is a prostitute, and that is abundantly clear.
In 2019?
Yes, ma'am.
What was
One.
you and Fani meet in 2019?
Yes, ma'am.
What was the extent of your relationship prior to November 1st.
So she acts all serious.
We met at a judges conference. We stayed professional friends for quite a bit of time thereafter. Started to pick up a little bit when COVID started. We began to spend inordinate amounts of time communicating. During the course of the investigation, nights, weekends, mornings. I can't tell you how much time that we spent together. We got closer.
So right there, the idea is because they're trying to establish the timeline to refute the timeline that the Trump side of it did, which is, they were banging in 2019, which obviously they were. But watch the way he describes this when he says we started communicating. I mean the guy looks like he's never walked by the gas tank of a car that he hasn't tried to fuck. Okay, and you know that he's sexually, like, it wouldn't surprise me if, this woman looks like she might be doing a little better than Fanny. But if she's not, if she's, wanting a little love, it wouldn't surprise me if tomorrow we find out Nathan Wade is the program director at ABC News. He's her boss, and he's got this thing on, and he's just plowing away on George Stephanopoulos and this woman. Because he is literally a prostitute. But look at the way he describes this. He's not describing someone who's just hanging out at night and in the morning who aren't sexual. I mean, this guy's full of shit. Look at that stupid fucking suit. Looks like an asshole.
Time thereafter, started to pick up a little bit when COVID started. We began to spend inordinate amounts of time communicating. During the course of the investigation, nights, weekends, evenings,
look at that smirk.
Mornings.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how much time
just
that we spent
going
together.
through paperwork.
We got closer and closer and closer. Workplace romances are as American as apple pie. It happens to everyone.
So that's obviously very true. Workplace romances are as American as apple pie. Who among us has not cheated on a spouse, a good-looking spouse, with multiple, like, 300-pound angry old women? I mean, anybody not done that? I mean, that is as American as apple pie. I don't know what kind of apple pie this asshole's eating, but why would you ever bring apple pie up in the same context as you're talking about a sexual relationship with Fannie Willis? That's disgusting.
But it happened to the two of us.
Do you regret it?
I regret
Listen to this shit.
that private matter became the focal point of this very important prosecution.
So that's how you know that this is completely 100% scripted, because what he regrets is that him cheating on his wife with the most unattractive, or like top 5, 10 most unattractive women, and not just talking about her looks, I'm talking about her personality is repulsive. It's repulsive if you know anything about her. He's talking about cheating on his good-looking wife, who by all accounts seems to be a pretty pleasant woman, with Fannie Willis. And his main regret, this is a man with 2 kids, is that affair might have affected the prosecution of this evil Donald Trump. Not that his 2 college-age children found out that when daddy goes to work, daddy's going whaling. He's not doing law. He's a whaler. Daddy is a prostitute who puts on a weird suit and pretends to be a whatever stupid title whoever's blinking him gives him. And he makes a lot of money doing it. He's a taxpayer-funded prostitute. Can you imagine that? You live in Fulton County or Cobb County, and you work hard all year, and part of your tax money is being paid to this guy so he can bang 60-year-old, 300-pound women.
I hate that my personal life has begun to overshadow
This guy's trash, man.
the true issues in the case.
But at some point, once that...
A real journalist, if this were a real journalist, would say, what about your kids? Are your kids okay? Did they know before? Do you worry that your kids are going to resent you? No, I'm worried about this trial. This is so important. And Fannie worked hard on it. I mean, what a piece of shit this guy is.
bond is there, and if democracy...
Oh, so we're back to the bond on him and Fannie.
Once that bond is there, and if democracy is on the line,
democracy
as has been described, do you say, maybe we pause this until after the case is over?
All right, so fuck that question, because what you would really ask is, hey, your family's on the line, your children, and even if you and your wife weren't, getting along and maybe having trouble, did you ever stop and think maybe we should wait until you and your wife get divorced to continue doing this? Did you ever think, did you ever think that we should wait until democracy is saved? This is it's like so disconnected from reality. It's crazy. It's like going off into the abyss, carrying all of these people who hate Trump, and they're blinded by the fact that they're floating off into hell along with them.
Absolutely. I'll concede that could have been an approach.
Yes,
but
an approach.
When you are
could have stopped
in the middle of it,
but fuck my kids.
These feelings are developing, and you get to a point to where the feelings are so strong.
I just, this guy, if this guy was talking to me, like we're sitting in a bar and he's telling me this, I'd be like, what are you doing with your head? Why are you? Well, are you trying to dance with me? I think he's trying to fuck her right now. This guy is a type of person who you have to throw out of a bar after he's had like 3 beers, because he's trying to hump every person in there. It probably doesn't matter the sex. The walls he's trying to hump. Everything. Empty beer bottles. I mean, look at this face. This is not a trustworthy person. This is a controllable, compromised piece of shit.
Could have been an approach, but when you are
she's very serious about it.
These feelings are developing, and
Fannie's so sweet.
Get to a point to where the feelings are so strong.
Please say, tell me what you loved about Fannie. What was so charming about her? Specific examples, please. What did she do? When did you know that you fell in love with Fannie Willis? I would really like to know.
That, you start to want to do things that...
Oh, the money.
Really are none of the public's concern.
What exactly are those things?
Lost upon the two of us.
All right, so look at that cut there. I talked through it, but it went through there, and there's like a weird cut. So this is where they start seeing the weird cuts. So he's like telling her how you start to get to working with Fannie, and you get to grooving, and then you start to like, want to fuck her like a beluga whale, things the public doesn't need to know about. That's what he's kind of saying. But watch this weird cut.
Do things that really are none of the public's concern. It wasn't lost upon the two of us that things could bleed over into the case and start to affect it. And so we made the adult-like decision to do what we did.
So they made the adult-like decision to do what they did. What is that exactly? He never tells us.
What we did, what do you mean by that?
In terms of protecting the integrity of the case.
Oh, of course.
The,
so much integrity.
Rest of the office out of our personal and private lives.
So right there, the question is that when the throuple between you and Fannie and Sonia Alice ended? Is that when the throuple fell apart?
And at the point that we decided to discontinue.
To hide it. So they decided to hide it and discontinue it, he says.
But it's my understanding that the relationship ended not because you were worried about it bleeding over, but you all just had differences of the value of a male and female in a relationship, that kind of thing, that you ultimately started having some heated conversations. But correct me if I'm wrong. Was there a point that you all stopped because you said, this is inappropriate, this could impact the integrity of the case?
Okay, that's a lot.
I'm sorry to keep interrupting this, but I have to emphasize, at no point in time does she bring up his family. None. That's a major part of this story. It is all of this money that he got. Paid lots and lots of money, taxpayer money, that he funneled back to Fannie through endless Baconators and vacations to Baconator Island. She got to dress herself in dresses made of Baconators that she got to eat off of herself. It was a fantasy for her, something that she'd always dreamed of. And at no point in time does she bring up the guy's family and how he had all that money and instead of paying for the medical expenses he said he would in the divorce agreement, or the college or the rent he said he would in the divorce agreement, he put hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of dollars into a Baconator Island retreat for Fannie Willis.
Out there. So we didn't have heated conversations to the extent that we were at odds and arguing about the inherent roles of.
Well, you know, I mean, Fonnie said on the witness stand, like, oh, according to Mr. Wade, the only thing a woman can do is make me a sandwich, right? I mean, and she said, she's the one who described it as heated conversation.
She said that, you know, listen, if I made a statement like that, certainly it was in jest. I respect women.
He respects women. I would point out, though, he said if he said that, which makes it sound like maybe he's suggesting that Fannie was lying. I don't know if he wants to do that, because she could very well get out the big peg, and nobody wants that 2x4 up their ass.
So just give me a sense of the timeline as far as when the romance actually started and then once it stopped.
So early 2022 to late 2023 is.
Stella, just to pause it, because I know you're watching. You think that you think they got a little action on that dirty porn couch behind them? That for some reason, why is there a weird looking porn couch? So you have these nice chairs and these nice lights in the background, and a couple of books there that is, I don't know what those books are. It's probably empty. Pictures of Fannie Willis and Stacey Abrams scissoring. I don't know. Nice little counter there. Sit drinks on. And then you have what looks like a $7 couch from a thrift store specifically bought for porn. That's all I'm saying.
Give me a sense of the timeline as far as when the romance actually started and then once it stopped.
So early 2022 to late 2023 is the time frame. What people don't see and don't know is that we continue to have a very close relationship. We are friends.
They're friends. So I like right there, if you're a journalist, you say, oh, really? So what's y'all's relationship like now? When's the last time the two of you hung out? What did you do as friends recently? Did you guys play pickleball together? Have you guys introduced each other to someone who might become the next Nathan or Fannie to them? Tell us about the friendship. But no, we're not going to. Nobody fucking believes you're friends.
A Washington Post columnist wrote, what were they thinking? How could two seasoned attorneys embroiled in the prosecution of a former president start a romance and not see this trouble coming a mile away? And so what were you thinking?
Yeah, what were you thinking?
You don't plan to develop feelings. You don't plan to fall in love. You don't plan
it just happens.
To have some relationship in the workplace. You don't set out to do that.
No, it's just love.
Those things develop organically.
Yeah.
They develop over time.
Yeah, it's love.
And the minute we had that sobering moment, we discontinued it.
It's a tragedy, really, because this is like a Romeo and Juliet story, the way it sounds to me, or maybe like a Cleopatra and Mark Antony, where Fannie Willis could have had anybody she wanted, but she chose the Roman soldier Nathan Wade. Like, she chose this peasant when she was a queen that men would have killed to be with. Or maybe it's like Diane and Sam from Cheers. I think that might be what it's more like. The workplace romance. They just couldn't help but fall in love, and even when they broke apart, they still remained friends. And then in the end, they got back together. So maybe we'll get to see the wedding of Fannie Willis and Nathan Wade, and we'll celebrate it here in America, just like they do the royals when a couple that's obviously going to get divorced gets married.
January 8th, a motion is brought that reveals that there's
zero chance that they were in love with each other. I mean, this is so stupid. This is so dumb. Nobody believes this. But he has to say, he's like a prisoner right now. He's like a prisoner who thinks he's one of those creepy guys who's like he's being held captive, but he thinks he still might be able to bang his kidnapper. Because you can tell the way he's talking to her. He's trying to He's trying to work his way in.
January 8th, a motion is brought that reveals that there's been this relationship.
God.
At that time, the relationship was over, correct? The romantic aspect of the relationship. Yes, what was going through your mind on that day when it suddenly becomes, I know you've said before it wasn't a secret, but now it does become public?
So let's pause it. And for those listening, what would a normal response to be to that? What the morning when you are all over the news because your affair with your boss has become public? What would a normal person who has a family, how might they react to that? Let's see if he has that kind of reaction.
Where is the relevance here?
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
How does this in any way affect the prosecution
of
those charged in the election interference case?
And so that's the propaganda talking point that they're still pushing forward.
So for 25 days, we didn't hear from you or District Attorney Willis. Why not come forward? At that point, you're a public servant, right? Getting paid from the state of
Fucking
Georgia.
the DA for the...
Why not say, okay, we'll make a statement, we'll get on top of this, we'll get ahead of this?
Let me say this.
Yeah, say it.
My conversation here with you today is just that. It's Nathan's conversation.
That doesn't even make sense.
I do not speak for the district attorney's office. I do not speak for their position. As a matter of fact, I'm certain that they would rather me not be having this exchange with you.
I've listened to that interaction like 5 times because I was perplexed about how little sense it made. Because she asked him a question, and then I don't even know what he was responding to, and she's looking at him with a serious face, as though as though he's saying words that make sense. Listen to that again. Maybe you guys can help me. But does he not just? It just feels like it's 2 separate interviews, and maybe it is. But that response did not match at all with the question she asked. I mean, I know he's dumb. I just love how serious the journalists look like. Yes, it's okay. I totally understand.
It was over, correct? The romantic aspect.
Might go back a little too far, but
January 8th, a motion is brought that reveals that there's been this relationship. At that time, the relationship was over, correct? The romantic aspect of the relationship. Yes, what was going through your mind on that day?
All right, that's one a little too far back. Sorry about
that. Willis, why not come forward? At that point, you're a public servant, right? Getting paid.
So why not come forward about the
Georgia
relationship?
Why not say, okay, we'll make a statement.
Well, why hide it?
On top of this, we'll get ahead of this.
Let me say this. My conversation here with you today is just that. It's Nathan's conversation. I do not speak for
the
district attorney's office. I do not speak for their position. As a matter of fact, I'm certain that they would rather me not be having this exchange with you.
So you
did he answer she said, why didn't the two of you, when all of this came out, why didn't you immediately just say, yeah, why did you wait so long before you admitted it? And his answer was, this is Nathan's conversation. They don't even want me to be talking to you. Well, and she just like, yes. I mean, I know I introduced how fake all of this is, but it's not even, you can't even comprehend it. It's like tangential sentences.
You said you didn't want to violate the public's trust. I'm curious, do you think that you've done any kind of damage to this case?
He did damage to that pussy.
None at all.
Even the public perception of it.
My private life became the focal point of the case.
Yeah.
And my private life has nothing to do with the merits of that prosecution.
Donald Trump now is trying to
I just realized this. Based on the story he told, by focusing attention on what happened with him and Fannie, all of us and all the lawyers for the defense, they broke up two people in love. I mean, this is like a tragic story, the way he's trying to torn apart. So maybe it is Romeo and Juliet by these racist.
The judge's decision overruled we'll find out in a week or so if Fani Willis gets to stay on the case.
Of course she does.
Do you feel, as we sit here today, that this case is in jeopardy?
Because that issue is before the Court of Appeals.
This guy's awful.
Currently, my goal is to protect the integrity of the process. I don't want to say anything that's going to jeopardize that, but
Right.
Nathan Wade does not feel that the case is in any way in jeopardy.
So now we know for sure, because this is the third time he does it, that he's a person who speaks in the third person. Nathan Wade feels this, Nathan Wade feels that. And while he said he doesn't want to say anything that puts the case in jeopardy, he didn't say he wouldn't fuck anything, whether or not it puts the case in jeopardy. Like, I would just like to see her bringing some blubber in just to see how long he can resist going over and fucking it. I mean, this guy is an asshole. Can you imagine if this guy was your lawyer?
Sit here today.
I guess it makes sense. The guy's defending. They were like, what do you want to know? What do you want to tell people? I want them to know who I am. And then the next thing he said was, I'm somebody who defends rapists and pedophiles and murderers. So I guess it does make sense.
That this case is in jeopardy?
Because that issue is before the Court of Appeals currently, my goal is to protect the integrity of the process. I don't want to say anything that's going to jeopardize that, but Nathan Wade does not feel that the case is in any way in jeopardy.
So you didn't realize when you took the case, your life was really going to be under a microscope?
I did not realize that my life would be in danger.
Microscope,
I don't have a problem with.
It's in
You're
danger.
just like the rest of us.
Wait a minute. In what world would somebody say, I didn't realize my life would be in danger? And you don't follow up with, what do you mean your life was in danger? I mean, I know it's implied. They like to do these implied things. And the implication is, if you watch MSNBC or CNN, that Fani Willis talked about how she went and stayed at somebody's house because she was afraid for her life. But her dad did not go and stay at that same house because she said all these people were surrounding, all these Trumpers were surrounding her house and these gangsters, and they were afraid they would get hurt. And her dad even said that too. But then when her dad was asked, okay, so why didn't you leave the house too then and go stay over there at the other house where Fani and Nathan were banging? And he said because of COVID. I mean, this is actually what happened during the hearing. And he said it with a straight face. So he was terrified of COVID, and he even said he knew COVID was coming back in 2019, 2018. Like, even before Event 201, this guy knew it was coming, and he was terrified of it. And that's why he didn't leave the house, because MAGA Trumpers, racists, and gangsters who wanted to kill him were not as scary to him as walking outside with his mask off. And that's why he stayed at the house. That makes a lot of sense, right? Detached from reality.
I'm curious if you think that Donald Trump will be convicted.
I believe and stand behind every bit of the work that was done while I was the special prosecutor on the case. And I believe that, there's going to be that day of reckoning where a Fulton County jury there in Fulton County, Georgia, would have to make that decision.
What do you think is the greatest?
What does that mean? It's going to be. This is the type of guy who never leaves the house without putting a condom on before, just in case. He's always wearing one.
Misconception about you.
Issue surrounding my divorce. It's a difficult thing to watch.
Please explain.
To hear, watch and listen to your life play out before the
clarify
the
for us,
American
please.
public inaccurately.
Ultimately, as we sit here today.
You ever see that? You ever see somebody say that the hardest part was how my divorce has been played out inaccurately, and then they don't then tell what their view of the accurate version is? They just change subjects. Like, I've literally never seen that before.
Do you feel you've done anything wrong?
Oh, wow. I don't feel as though I've done anything wrong.
He said what I did to that ass.
I feel like I have been, I guess, in my silence.
He is smirking.
I've been treated a bit unfairly.
Oh, yeah, of course.
A bit harshly.
Yeah.
What's next for you?
No, you haven't.
Wow, the sky's the limit.
That couch.
I love the dynamics of the courtroom, but I'm also a people person. I enjoy people. And right now, I think it is just incumbent upon me to unplug, get away from all of it until I can clear my mind and make some rational decisions about
to a cabin.
Next steps.
Right. Okay, fuck
Our
you.
thanks to Nathan Wade for the conversation. Some defendants in the case have taken pleas. Others, including Donald Trump, have entered pleas of not guilty.
Okay, so there's a 0% chance that he did not sexually harass her before he left that building. I mean, there's no way he did not say something super inappropriate that made half the people there go, "Oh God, can we get this guy out of here?" Before, I mean, you can't. I know people. I've seen people like that in theaters, late at night. I mean, just like that guy with his bullshit thing. That whole time at the end, you saw they're asking about serious subjects, and he's got this like he's trying to flirt with her. Grin. This guy is very fucking rapey. Am I wrong on that? For those who watched, Stella, this guy here is Stella's from Australia. He is the guy who, this Fannie Willis character is the person who indicted Trump in what they say will be the biggest case in American history. And she was fucking this guy, and she made him the top prosecutor, and she paid him all this money to do nothing. And they were like, that's a conflict of interest, and so they threw him off the case, which they should. And so now he's speaking out, and he's speaking the propaganda language that they want him to speak. And what's going to happen, this is my prediction. The reason that he's speaking right now, if I didn't say this earlier, is because you have the Stormy Daniels, the hush money trial, which they had to then explain to all their viewers. Well, actually, that's not illegal. Here's the weird, convoluted crime we're trying to create. And then basically everybody admits that there was no crime in the, quote, hush money trial. But Trump has been at court all of these days, and he was gagged by the judge and all this shit and fined. That was the rehearsal, in my opinion. That was there's nothing there, everybody knows it, bullshit rehearsal. So we were focused on the Fannie Willis shit for a few months, took a couple months off, went over to the rehearsal trial. And that's going to be coming to a close sometime soon, I think, because it's just, you can't even fabricate something out of the nothing that is. And then they're going to be coming back to the Fulton County focus. I guarantee it. Watch. The focus is about to shift back to Fulton County, and this interview is what the launching point is. And I'm telling you, they're going to make this shit happen before the election. This is the one they want. This is the only one that they can cause the maximum amount of conflict with, and also potentially show on television. And it could cause, I mean, this case is just as bogus as the others, but this is the most entertaining outcome, is if this one goes to trial, and I bet it does. And that's why they launched all this shit, because all of these talking points are coming the fuck back out. All right. Yeah, it's yeah, total thespian, dude. You're right. That guy's a total thespian. Sex thugs and rockin' trolls, said Stella. So, you know, I got a little bit more time. I thought about maybe saving this, but I did tease it in the title. And so this one made me angry, this video. Everybody's heard the Kristi Noem story. Stella, are you familiar, Stella from Australia, of the Kristi Noem controversy over here in America? Where she came out, she talked about how she shot her dog, 14-month dog, 20 years ago. She lives on a farm, and there's a lot to this, and there's a lot of psyop going on here that I think people are missing, that I want to talk about, because I actually think Kristi Noem is doing something very obvious right now that nobody's pointing out. That it's being overlooked by everyone. Because all of the focus is Kristi Noem shot a 14-month-old dog, and then you have people who live on farms who defend her. They tell more of a full story, and then you have people who it's all. I don't even know if it really happened, to be honest with you, or if she really did it. But I can tell you this: this is all strategic. Kristi Noem did not write about how she shot her dog 20 years ago. That was a puppy, 14-month-old. How she hated the dog. And how she's like, fuck it, I'm going to kill the fucking goat now, too. And then in the same interviews where she's talking about this, says, "Where you tell me where Biden's dog is, I'll go kill those motherfuckers, too." She didn't do all that off of she didn't just flippantly do that. That was all strategic. I mean, she put it in a book, and she did a press tour where she doubled down on it the entire time. And everybody in the social media and in the articles, like this article here, on CNN. And this kind of reflects everybody's response to this. Is Kristi Noem's book rollout has put the governor in an unwanted spotlight. No, it hasn't. No, it absolutely has not. It has put her in the exact spotlight. Now, maybe it's not the best strategy, but it has put her in the exact spotlight that her and her public relations team wanted to put her in when they decided to use controversy advertising to put her book in the front of people's minds leading up to its release tomorrow. This is all advertising. And it's working. Who the fuck was going to read Kristi Noem's book? People say it's about the VP. It ain't fucking about the VP shit. I don't think she was ever going to be considered for VP. And I'll show you, because I cut some clips from this fucking crazy interview. Kristi Noem, in this interview that she did yesterday with Face the Nation, comes off to me as though somebody was like, "Hey, what if we made a sex doll governor?" And then it just shorted out in a bunch of interviews. I mean, she comes off as a sex doll that's shorting out while talking about politics in this interview. It's like wild, but then I'm watching it, I'm like, she's doing this on purpose. And it's driving up her book sales. Nobody is reading this book. Nobody's buying this book. But you know what happens when the main story she chooses to feature is a story about shooting a 14-month-old dog who she says was untrainable and just putting it in a ditch, fucking murdering or shooting the gun. Like makes it sound to people who have not been on a farm. And this is 20 years ago also, where the way people did things were different. I'm not defending it. Don't get me wrong. I'm just telling you what they're doing. I'm just telling you what their strategy is. This was discussed in a PR room. In fact, they almost put this exact story in her first book 2 years ago for the same reason. They were trying to decide if strategically it was going to increase their sales, but they decided not to put it in there. So it ain't like she accidentally said this shit. People are like, why she keeps shooting herself in the foot like her foot can't be trained. She has an untrainable foot. It's a bad foot. Her foot, it attacks her neighbor's chickens and kills them, and sometimes attacks her own children. So she has to keep shooting herself in the foot like it's her dog 20 years ago. Guess what happens when you start talking about how you killed a dog 20 years ago? Is you outrage a large portion of the population. Everybody talks about you. And then a bunch of news outlets bring you on their show and they say, "Do you feel bad about killing that dog 20 years ago?" And she goes, "I don't. Give me a dog right now. I'll fucking shoot it right the fuck now." And she I'll kill anybody here. Right? I double down. You don't feel, no, I don't feel remorse. I hated that fucking dog. She just doubles down. She's had 80 opportunities to say she feels bad. And every time she gets the opportunity, she just says something else that just pisses everybody off. And so then what happens is this. So you see this article, puts it in the news. So nobody's talking about Kristi Noem's book before this because nobody gives a fucking shit and nobody's going to fucking read it. Who the fuck cares? Right? Seriously, she's getting 0 sales before this. But after talking about the fucking dog all the time, here's what happens. Look at this. This is before it was released. This is before fucking book's released. She's trending on all the fucking the trending shit because everybody's searching Kristi Noem killed a dog. And now look over here on Amazon. You see here? Her book called No Going Back, The Truth of What's Wrong with Politics and How We Move Forward in America. #1 bestseller in elections before it's even released. Number one. Now that's not the giant group of new releases, but it was earlier, already like in the top 40 of that and rising. Now, it might not get to the top of where she gets it, but I guarantee you it's going to get far fucking higher than it ever would have had she not come out and start talking about how she loved killing her dog 20 years ago. This is a fucking con. This is a PR. I mean, everybody's like, fuck her, blah, blah, blah. No, this is everything she wants right now. And I think it's just like, and I'm going to show you this interview with her because she seems so stupid. She seems like a broken sex doll, but also I'm like, I say she's stupid, but I think her shit's working. I think she wants to make a fucking bunch of money. And guess what? The people who hate her are going to buy it. Like this. Look at this shit. Let me look at this shit. Not that one. Well, all right. I don't know where that article went. So I had an article up about all the crazy things Kristi Noem claims in her book, written by like the New York Times. And this is what happens when you write crazy, like things that people think are crazy, or like a bunch of lies, like a bunch of other stuff she said is all of these journalists go out and buy your book, and all these people who hate you go out and buy your book because they want to scour through it and they want to find all the lies that they can then go tweet about, and they can go do segments on CNN about, and they can come get you about. So it's like it's bait to drive up her sales from people who hate her. And on the other side of it, it appeals, the story about the dog, to the people who elected her in South Dakota. She is losing none of her. She's a very popular governor, and South Dakota has the highest farming and agriculture contributes to the highest percentage of their GDP than any other state in the country. She talked about this thing that many farmers have agreed with and maybe even did themselves when they viewed a dog was dangerous to their family. She appealed to them. She's losing none of her support. Meanwhile, she's pissing off all these people who hate her. They're going to buy her book. All the people in South Dakota and other farm states who like her are going to say, well, fuck all those people who hate her. They don't understand what it's like to be a farmer. I'm going to buy her book in solidarity, when they might have liked her before, but they never would have bought it before. I mean, she's jacking her fucking sales up here. The sex doll has a little con up her sleeve, and even if she's malfunctioning, she's getting a lot more sales than she would have otherwise. I mean, people act like she did this on accident. This is not a fucking accident. This is controversy marketing. And then people will say, well, she fucked up being vice president. No, she did not. Who is saying that she was on the vice presidential shortlist? Is Trump saying it? Have you ever heard Trump say that? No. No, he's never said it. The only people saying that she was on the short list for being a VP are a bunch of unnamed sources, who are now a bunch of unnamed sources saying that Trump got mad and kicked her off of the list. It's all media fabrications. And all right, let's watch this video, and you'll see, watching this video of Kristi Noem do an interview, you'll see why she was never going to be a vice president. She comes off as too stupid. And I think she's good looking. I mean, she's like if I'm in a sex doll shop, I'm considering putting down $99 for her. I mean, look at that. That's not a bad looking sex doll, especially if it's governor of your state. That she's frozen. She's malfunctioning right there. I mean, am I wrong that she looks like a sex doll? She looks like a sex doll. A lot of blush. All right. So this interview, let me get my notes here, because this is like the craziest interview. It's so crazy. Like she starts off the interview by talking about her book and talking about how her book is all about honesty and genuineness, about a blueprint for, I think she explains it here in this first clip. I'll let you guys hear her explain it, because after she explains that, she spends the rest of the interview being the exact opposite of every single thing that she sets up here. It's so funny.
This is really a book that talks about how we're not going back. We're now going back to the days before Donald Trump. Donald Trump broke politics, and I think that's a good thing. We're not going back to the days of Mitt Romney or the Bushes. that now there's a new way to do and talk to the American people, and they appreciate it. It's an honest, genuine conversation about what these citizens can do to take back their government and to have more input. So this book is really a how-to guide for how to make your voice heard, and for people in this country what they can do to really make sure that they are getting genuine elected officials that really want to give them more freedom and liberty.
Okay, so a couple things to point out there is she started off that little spiel by name dropping her book. It's a book about not going back, and she does that the entire interview. She tries to put not going back. It's very, very rigid and scripted, coming from someone who in that rigid script is saying, no, this book, not going back, it's about a genuine, honest conversation with genuine, honest politicians. So that's the premise. So it's already, even in the delivery, not genuine and honest, but now it just goes the complete opposite. So she's about to just go 180 of genuine and honest right here. This is great. This is immediately after this right here.
So you write about lessons learned in leadership, and you bring up some specific incidents I want to ask you about. You talk about meeting some world leaders, and one specific one, quote, I remember when I met with North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un, I'm sure he underestimated me, having no clue about my experience staring down little tyrants. I've been a children's pastor after all. Did you meet Kim Jong-un?
So that right there is actually one clip still. I'll take it back and tell you why I did that separation, but I'll let it continue.
Did you meet Kim Jong-un?
Well, as soon as this was brought to my attention, I certainly made some changes and looked at this passage. And I've met with many, many world leaders. I've traveled around the world. As soon as it was brought to my attention, we went forward and have made some edits. So I'm glad that this book is being released in a couple of days, and that those edits will be in place, and that people will have the updated version.
I mean, that's like a sex doll response. That right there is you put this little story about confronting Kim Jong-un in your book. Now but did you meet Kim Jong-un? And the woman who just said that her whole book is about honest conversations and genuine politicians that are honest, says that she's met lots of world leaders and completely ignores the actual question, but says she's very excited that there's been edits. I mean, this is a retarded AI answer to me. This is what I feel like a chat GPT sex bot. I mean, don't get me wrong, hubba hubba, but come on. Nothing honest and genuine about that answer she just gave. And she continued. Oh, so this is what I wanted to show you, because I split this clip in two here. Speaking of honest and genuine, they have the quote here that they put on screen where it says, she read the quote about, I remember when I met Kim Jong-un, a North Korean dictator. I'm sure he underestimated me, having no clue about my experience staring down little tyrants. Haha, I've been a children's pastor after all. So that's the little joke she threw in, is that Kim Jong-un is not the first little tyrant she's had to stare down. She actually stared down tons of little tyrants, which were other people's children, when her job was to be teaching them the word of Christ. So that's the little joke they put in, and ignoring, the placement of that, placing it with what may or may not be true. She didn't confirm or deny whether or not she met Kim Jong-un. That stood out to me because right before I saw this video, I was behind a car pulling into Walmart that had a bumper sticker that said, nobody can scare me. I have children. And this is exactly a play on that. Like, if you look right here, I even pulled up some shirts. Nothing scares me. I have two kids. Nothing scares me. Same sentiment. Not exactly the same, but her quote, not different enough to really express genuineness and honesty. You're pulling bumper sticker slogans and putting them into fake stories into your book that you're claiming is about honest and genuine politicians. I'm not surprised. I kind of like the audacity. Go sex doll. All right, get that out of here, and we'll let her continue. I mean, it gets even weirder. Oh, wait, so let me skip it over. No, wait. So she has like 4 opportunities to answer this question. And she never does. I mean, look at her. It's like her battery's running. She just want to move it like that. Yeah, definitely. I mean, who does her hair? Somebody who worked. It's like her stylist used to work at Real Doll. They'll be in place. The edits. I'll get that updated version. Oh, shit. Sorry, I took it down. I'm just sitting there looking at it myself. You guys are probably like, what the fuck is he staring at? Sorry. Put that back up. No, she ask her again right here.
Not meet with Kim Jong-un. That's what you're saying.
You know, I've met with many, many world leaders. I've traveled around the world. I think I've talked extensively in this book about my time serving in Congress, my time as governor, before governor, some of the travels that I've had. I'm not going to talk about my specific meetings with world leaders. I'm just not going to do that.
She's not going to do it.
This anecdote shouldn't have been in the book, and as soon as it was brought to my attention, I made sure that that was adjusted. So the book is not released until Tuesday, and so we're doing all that we can to make sure that those changes are made, and I'm going to continue to focus on what this book is and the blueprint that it lays out for the American citizen, on all of the things in the background and stories of my life, but also what I think that needs to be identified in politics and what's broken today. I talk about how broken the money game is, how broken it is that we've got consultants that are getting rich off of elected officials, and then how fake some elected politicians are.
Oh, how fake some of them are.
Every single person in this country wants someone in elected office that's a human being, that doesn't say they're perfect. I take responsibility for that being in the book, and as soon as it was brought to my attention, I asked for it to be changed. So I'm glad that the release date is in a couple of days, and we're excited to talk to America about my new book, No Going Back.
Yeah, so she's tired of all the fake politicians, and the lack of honesty. The person who will not just say yes or no. Did you or did you not meet Kim Jong-un? I've met a lot of world leaders. It was in the book. Shouldn't have been in the book. It was a bad antidote. It was untrainable. I shot the antidote and put it into a ditch. It almost bit my daughter, so we got it out of there, and I'm just happy that we got the new version there. But no, I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you about my secret private meetings with world leaders that I have. I'm going to tell you about my book. This is about honest, genuine conversations with the American people. I mean, how convoluted is this whole... it's sure. I mean, a sex doll, I would not expect to recognize the direct contradiction in literally every word she says. That's why I'm leaning towards this is actually a robot. Or it's somebody who's just great at fucking with people and jacking up those book sale prices, because I think she might be doing the same thing here. Because she will not answer the question about Kim Jong-un. So here's what some people argue. Some people go, oh, well, her ghostwriter put that in there to screw her over. If that's the case, then why wouldn't she just say, oh, my ghostwriter put that in there to sabotage me, and we have let that ghostwriter go? It's not like anybody thinks that she wrote the book. So it wouldn't surprise anyone to say there's a ghostwriter. So if that were the case, admit it. It'd probably be your best move. However, I don't think it is the case. I think it was probably put in there on purpose and then taken out on purpose and then shared on social media by her. She's the one who shared it, just like she's the one who shared the story about the dog. And it caused all these interviews and all these articles. And Kristi Noem has never gotten more media attention in her life than the week leading up to her book release. And you know what all these people do? These articles, all the crazy shit in her book, they're going to say, what other crazy shit's in there? Like this fucking North Korea shit. And what's the value in her saying, no, I have not been. Obviously, she has not met Kim Jong-un. Unless she's trying to give like a wink, wink. I did go over there and I fucked him and I got him wrapped around my finger. Maybe she's trying to do that. I don't think so. I think it's very obvious that she hasn't. But she doesn't want to rule that out because she wants people reading the book, since apparently everything in it involves unnamed maybe world leaders, she wants them to go, oh, maybe this is what she did with Kim Jong-un, or maybe that was Kim Jong-un. She doesn't want to eliminate the imagination or the intrigue that is going to cause people to buy. I feel like this idiot sex doll, this broken sex doll, is pulling off like the wackiest controversial marketing scheme that I've ever seen. Obviously, she couldn't be vice president with this type of handling. And she was asked about what she thought about Trump criticizing Bibi Netanyahu. And she might as well have sucked Bibi Netanyahu's dick, which maybe he's got a copy of her and she has. So she's obviously controlled in certain ways. I don't think she was ever on the list. And I think she knew that. And so I think, or maybe Trump said, you're not on the list anymore. Go ahead and make all the money you want. Do the dog shit. Do the sex doll routine. Go for it, baby. Because, I mean, Trump and all these guys, they know how to do this. They come out with these books that say ridiculous shit that they know are going to piss people off. And they do this shit.
Okay.
It's all fucking performance.
I'm asking about that specifically because you made the point to bring him up twice. And that he was a little tyrant.
Do you have a question for me, Margaret?
Yes, I do.
She's been asking the fucking question the whole time. Oh, man, she's good.
A treaty ally. North Korea is a nuclear-armed adversary. So that's a pretty...
Right, so that she's just talking about North Korea, and they do move forward. So this is it gets better. This is the best part.
I know you read this book before it was published because you released video of your recording of the audiobook. You didn't catch these errors when you were recording it?
Oh, Margaret, as soon as it was brought to my attention, I took action.
She took action. She shot it. She shot that passage with her shotgun, buried it in a ditch next to her goat and her dog. She released a video of her recording the audio version of the book. I mean, that is like genuinely hilarious. Probably doesn't mean that she recorded the entire thing, so I guess it's possible that she did not read that part. But I'm just imagining her recording the audio version, reading so when I confronted Kim Jong-un, it was he underestimated me because he didn't know that I dealt with tyrants my whole life when I was teaching them the word of God as and then somebody said, Kristi, we need to make it aware to you that you just included a passage, and that she took action right there, deleting her own audio. That's like sex bot type of behavior. This is why I can't decide, is this a brilliant person who usually seems kind of like is conservative, but right now is going full weirdo improv, or is this a broken sex bot? I don't know. Either way, I want one. All right.
To make sure that it was reflected. Unless I'm saying that this book is very, very good, and I've met with many world leaders, and that there are world leaders that I've met with that are in this book. There are many that I've met with that are not in this book. Okay. And this is an anecdote
they're in other books
that I asked to have removed because I think it's appropriate at this point in time. But I'm not going to talk to you about those personal meetings that I've had with world leaders.
Okay.
I'm just not going to have that conversation because I think it's important.
That's a weird way to put that, isn't it? I'm just not going to talk to you about this conversation with world leaders because I think it's important. She thinks not having the conversation is important, or I don't understand what's not. I don't know. It's just very impressive weirdo-ness. I think somebody needs to get one of those thermal cameras on Kim Jong-un's house and to see how many Kristi Noem sex dolls he has laying around. I would like to know. I would like for someone to get on the phone with Kim Jong-un. If I could buy friends of mine one of these things, it has to talk like this, though. It can't just look like Kristi Noem. It has to actually talk like this, like a retard. But I'm very impressed with it. What do you guys think? You think Kristi Noem is a sex doll? Do you think she is in a relationship with Kim Jong-un? Or do you think... Here's one more thing about her, then I'll get out of here. Going back to this is not going to harm her in any way, because people wonder, why would she keep shooting herself in the foot? She's not shooting herself in the foot. Again, she's making a bunch of money, was never going to be VP, and she is going to end her second term as governor in 2026. You can only run twice in a row, and what she's going to do after that is she's going to do this. She's going to run for the Senate. And the people who are going to be voting for her, that she's appealing to, are people who side with her, who support her, who will buy her book in solidarity because they grew up on farms and farming. So they have more of an understanding of where she's coming from when she tells these stories. She's probably increasing her popularity. See, it says right here, U.S. Senate race potential in a primary contest between Governor Noem and incumbent Senator Rounds. Noem held a significant lead with 53% of the vote compared to 26%. You're looking at your future sex doll senator joining AOC and Boebert. No, wait, they're in the House. But I like this, you know. If we're going to have a Senate and a House, might as well be filled with real dolls. Let me check out the comments, see if I've missed. I'm sure I've missed some. Cornelius Wolfshirt says, Ghost Riders in the Sky. Yeah, maybe AI. Maybe AI just wrote her interview responses. It's interesting. Like, I wonder what, you could probably set up a prompt on AI where it's like, I want you to be an evasive politician who doesn't want to tell us why you removed a story about staring Kim Jong-un in the face. And I'm going to be a journalist. I wonder if the responses would be similar to what Kristi Noem gave right there. Maybe. I don't know. I wonder what she's looking at right there. Kim Jong-un's dick. Maybe he's taller than we realized. Or maybe she's staring him down, you know, just like those little tyrants. What a weird kind of autistic joke that was, too. Like, I get the joke, kids are tyrants, totally. But when you add that, when I was a pastor, I mean, change that detail. Make that a different detail. That makes it seem weird. And I couldn't actually even find where she was. Maybe she was. I don't know. That woman is, man. I wonder how much they cost. Tommy says Ukraine has a new AI. Yeah, I saw some of that. That's wild. What I'm trying to figure out, Tommy, is how do I create one of these AI spokespeople and make like millions of dollars by getting people to subscribe to her to be their girlfriend? Apparently people are doing that, or maybe they're not. At least the AI articles I read say they are. You think that woman's more of a man than I am? You talking about Noem? I tell you what, she better be able to hit a lot of 3-pointers in a row. But then again, so can a lot of men who play in the WNBA. So I guess that's not a good example. You think she's a trans? Is that what you're saying, Moose? Now here I am thinking I'm like watching Maury Povich in the early 2000s again, where they have all of the really hot looking women walking up the runway. And then after they run all of these hot chicks out there and you're a kid and you're like getting all excited about it, they go, which one of them is actually a man? And you're like, fuck. You never want to get that wrong. So I hope you're wrong about Kristi Noem, because I don't want a sex doll with breast and a penis. I'm not there yet. I guess they could all be like Mr. Potato Man. You know, it could be anything you want. Just put it wherever. Just have like slots wherever. It doesn't matter. Who cares? Purple hair on them. They could serve you coffee and demand a tip. Oh, you're saying she's a baddie? I'm glad I have this Bitcoin spam coming in the chats here. Detachable members. Yeah. You know, 2 dicks. You can have. I would like to see like a Mr. Potato Head come with a gender transition surgeon. What's it called? Where they do the penile inversion therapy. They have all the weird names for it. I would like to see some movie now about a struggling gender transition surgeon who they can't even afford to put food on the table because so many transphobes are scaring all these people who are ready, all these kids who are ready to have the surgery into not doing it. And so this poor gender transition surgeon ends up on the streets begging for money. All they have is their scalpel and like a penis inverter. And the whole story is about how this person has to fight against the transphobia and rebuild the courage in the children around America to become the other gender, like surgically. I think I'd like to see that movie. We might as well, right? I was looking this up the other day. The gender transition surgeries, like at a minimum, cost like $50,000. Like that's crazy. I mean, you have to be like really well off to get that penis inverted. Or your parents are like, you're spoiled, and your parents are doing it for you. And in the article, this person who had the surgery done said that they did a GoFundMe because they couldn't afford the surgery, and they were bitching about how the insurance wouldn't cover it. And their quote was something like, "Cis males get their penis for free." I never thought about it that way. I never thought about that privilege. Is that not every man is born with a penis, and to get it, I mean, you're pretty much going to have to take out a loan like you would for a house. I mean, it's going to be the new college debt. And so, I don't know, man. I feel like another layer of privilege was added to me there. What else? Oh, Stella, really bad accident. Penis and inversion. Yeah. Yeah, they say a vagina is just an inverted penis. That's what they've always said anyway. But which to me was always kind of weird because I'm like, well, then the women have a bigger penis than the men if it's just an inverted penis, and our dicks in theirs. What a perfect morning topic that I've really stumbled into here. Just gone full head, not just the tip, into the penis inversion therapy at 6:15 in the morning. You'll never accuse her of being trans. I'm saying she's more masculine than me. Oh, thanks, Moose. I appreciate that. No, it's okay. Somebody told me that I was masculine earlier because I put all these videos playing basketball on X. So I realized that recently. That I should have just been putting all basketball videos on X because they get more traction than any other post. What's up, Michael? We're all here. I don't know. I don't know what everybody is after that. I'm about to get out of here, Michael, but we have on screen now Kristi Noem, who I think is either a broken sex doll or one of the most brilliant, controversial marketers for a book of all time. And that's where I'm going to end things. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Stella says, I'm off to have oysters and dinner. Stella in Australia. Thank you, Stella. That's a good place to wrap up the show. All right, guys. We will talk to you next time. Have a fantastic rest of your day. What's up, Brucey? I didn't see you there. See y'all later.